annoy you or play some kind of game with MakingStarWars.com. With MakingStarWars.com.
Hey guys, how's it going? So I don't know why it glitched and it put one of the shows starting like live 45 minutes ago and the other two. I do like a one line all at the same time. Computers, man, how do they work? It's like magnets. ICP asked the question years ago. No one told them, and now here we are. We don't even know how computers work.
It's really
So
all about the droids.
it's really all about the robots.
It's the thing that ties it all together.
Oh, Star Wars Santa. I think we might have made Star Wars Santa like a little bit. I think he might need his daily fix. Hold on.
It's not about spaceships. It's not about spaceships. It's not about spaceships. It's not about spaceships.
All right, there we go. We got the opening with Star Wars Santa, all at the same time. So yeah, how's everybody doing today? Everybody in the chat doing good? Is anybody still here after showing up 45 minutes early? Not your fault, obviously. It should not have told you that. Yeah, Kane wrote early, and I was just like, how's he already typing? He's all, happy Monday, everyone. And I was like, hey, Kane in before the gun. And then I'm
just
like,
for fun, you know.
Yeah,
I was like, no, just been happy. How you doing, buddy? You know.
And like always, I was like, oh, you know what? I wanted to pull the MakingStarWars.com thing. I renewed that domain a while ago, and for whatever reason, needed to like repoint it towards MakingStarWars.net, and I forgot. And
I like how you've chosen the .net over the .com. You know, you were like, nah, fuck analytics. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, who cares? You know what's actually really funny about it is when I went onto the little portal to make sure everything was pointed to the right places and stuff. They're like, hey, why don't you sell your domain? And like the MakingStarWars.net one, it has listed as like trash, like nothing. And the MakingStarWars.com one, I'm like, shit, I should sell that shit right now because I got bills.
You know, I've tried. So I have a few domains. Like one, like I used to have one called SketchRob.com, right? And that's like valued at like 10,000 now. And I'm like, all right, I'll put it up for sale.
Yeah.
You know, like no one's buying it for 10 grand. Matter of fact, the one I have now, Sketchcraft, it was originally like it was up for bid or something. So I just put it in whatever, I'll buy it. Some guy hits me up from GoDaddy and he goes, hey man, we'll sell it to you for 5 grand. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. And I'm just a normal artist. He goes, all right, well, how about like 3? I'm like, I don't think you understand. I'm just a normal guy.
Yeah.
I'm going to go get realsketchcraft.com right now for $5. And he's like, how about $99? Like, for real, bro. In like 3 minutes, it went from 5 grand to 99. I'm like, sold.
That's what happened. I used to have Making Indie, and I don't have that now. That happened when somebody was like, hey, we'll give it to you. They wanted a couple $1,000s for it. And I just kept saying $350. And they were like $350. I'm like, 350 cents. So I was like, at that point, who knows if they're going to make this indie movie?
Only credits.
Right? Yeah. But yeah, funny stuff. The world is dumb. But let's look at Star Wars in game. I'm late, but somehow I'm early. You time traveled. Wait, are you missing time? You might want to watch last night's UFO show we did. There might be something to it.
I should have jumped in on that one, by the way.
Actually, next time Star Wars in game, you are here early. And I'm not here talking. It's your responsibility to start the show. Like right now, I could just be loading up everything that you have to say, what's going on. We could have been ahead here. So
is there a way to like to stream the comments, like to wait, you know, like while you're waiting to jump in?
Yeah, I wish. I wish there was a way just to have the comments playing live. That way people could say like, F Jason Ward, that guy sucks.
Do you want 1 million followers? Do you want to get promo now? Maxi Big Time, you know?
Maxi Big the Force followers? So
lest you people think that George is perfect.
Right?
Just reminding you.
I hope I didn't delete it. No, okay. Hopefully I don't close out this tab doing this. Okay. Looks like I'm still here. Cool. There was a little baby bit of Star Wars news today. And I'm gonna
Baby
share that
bits.
old. It was baby bits. For Phantom Menace Mondays, guys.
I like Menace Mondays, man. That's my thing now.
So yeah.
Well, snap.
Yeah. So we got this going, right? And
Remember when everyone bitched that this wasn't going to be a movie and they were somehow cheapening it? And now after the pandy, people are like, yeah, thank God it's a show.
yeah. Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, it does go that way. But Indira Varma shared this on Instagram, and it says, "Fabulous cast of lovely people, brilliant director Deborah Chow, and the loveliest crew of creatives. I cannot wait to see the result of everyone's incredible work and talent on the screen. Thank you." And so you can take that two ways. One is that she has wraps. She's done. They're still going. But based off of everything I'm seeing and hearing right now, I think Kenobi is done. And I have reasons for not straight out saying, confirming it, like, confirm, bro. Reasons for that. So just roll with me on that one, for that reason. But I'm pretty sure it is. I'm pretty sure it's done. I'm pretty sure Kenobi's done. And that's what I was saying last week. Last week, I saw people with badges that are the Mandalorian badges, and so I'm pretty sure that they're not doing anything live actiony, or I should say exterior shooting anymore. And if there's anything left at all, it's probably just stuff for the volume. And kind of I'm hearing a little something about it that makes me think there is a scene being filmed after production. So something probably important is going to happen. And
I wish they would do some fun PR stunts. Like have Ewan McGregor play the Obi-Wan game on the original Xbox. Like have him like Twitch it, just to promote. Like him and Hayden got to play it together. And
yeah.
Out of the box thinking PR,
Right. Yeah, they're
out of the Xbox.
Out of the Xbox. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I'm going to guess that everyone is gonna go right to Liam Neeson on what I just said. That's what I think everyone's gonna say. My mind went there too, but that's not, it's not a confirmed thing. I'm not saying that's what's happening. That's just where my brain is. It's where my brains go.
Rob Roy confirmed.
Right. I was just thinking of a few seconds ago when you were talking about what was it, Sketch Rob?
Sketch Rob.
Like with that one, I think it would be cool if you had a channel where it was super scary. You would draw someone's house from your neighborhood and then draw how you were going to rob them. Yeah. And there's like,
I know, because it's not your career on the line.
No, it's not. And you're like drawing your neighbors like sleeping, and there's like you like going in the drawer, like you just like sit like over the shot of the hand, taking the pearls, taking the pearls out of the drawer. Yeah, Sketch Rob.
How about R''D? Sketch robbed.
Sketch Rob. Yeah. Hey, I would honestly watch that channel every day if it was a real thing.
Grand Sketch Auto.
Yeah, right. If it was like if you were like the Bob Ross of criminals, but you didn't really do anything criminal. Just were super
as
scared.
I draw them, my wanted star goes up, right? Like as I move through the house, it goes further.
I'm gonna paint a little extra wanted star here. Now we're up to 4 stars. They're gonna be sending the choppers soon.
Happy little shoppers. Look at that little SWAT team with the cute little tanks.
I have machine gun cheats and I'm going to shoot it down now. But yeah, I hope that open world Star Wars game gets its shit together and comes out in time. After we were talking about it last week on the show, I was like, man, I really want that. I could really use that. Like we've been having, a little I had a sick kid like after I was sick again. And so we just play Fortnite. We just play like constantly playing Fortnite. And like I'm like a little bit like I like it. I actually do like it, but I am a little bit like.
You think you would ever play that if you didn't have kids though?
No, but that's what's funny about it is my kids were like my son, who was about 4 at the time, was like, I want a game. And I was like, I'm not gonna. I bought him, like I had bought him a few games before, like $60 games, and he's just like, games. So I was like, you know what, this one's free. I'm like, Daddy's buying you Fortnite. Buy him Fortnite. He loves it. He loved it, and so it's like all he wanted to like do. And then, but now we're to the place where like, what do you guys want to do? And they're like, I don't know. And I'm like, how about we play Fortnite? And then they're like, I don't know, Dad. I'm like, come on, Fortnite, kids, come on, let's play Fortnite. Like, I'm all about it now. It's true.
Dad's too cool, right? It's like, oh,
yeah, it's pretty fun. I don't know. I like it. I like
it. Was
like,
the game that when Epic was first developing it, I was telling people at this t-shirt company, I'm like, you may want to look into this one. They'd spent like 3 years already kind of not producing the game, and then the battle royale system came out, and they were shifting over to that. And then I told this t-shirt company, I'm like, you want to get this license now? And they were like, no, we don't. Who's ever heard of it? The owner only listened to his kid, right, and his shitty little kid. And the kid was like, we need to get the IGN license. And I'm like, that's not a license. That's a fucking website. It's a new what? Like I was confused. IG, why?
Yeah.
Like, and I had to sit on the phone with the IGN guys telling me how they want to be branded. Like, we want it to look like a logo, but it look like Captain America's shield, but it says IGN. I'm like, 1, that's trademark infringement. 2, we have the Marvel license. I hate fucking IGN, bro. And then Fortnite, like, and one of the many things, I just sat back laughing. How's that fucking IGN license doing for you?
Yeah. In I think it was 98. I was a teenager working at a gas station, and my boss was like, oh, I want to get into investing. And I was like, well, you can invest on a computer. And he's like, what's this computer nonsense? So I told him about it, and then he went and got
very office. Office.
It was. I went down to Comp USA with him, and we picked up a 486. And then he was like, well, what should I invest in? And I was like, I think you should invest in Yahoo. And he was like, what's that? I don't know. I'm going to look into it. I was like, okay. And he was just very one-track minded. He went and put a ton of money into Yahoo and made a ton of money. And then he was like, so a few days later, Star Wars Celebration is announced. And he was like, here. And he bought me the tickets to Celebration with the hotel and all that jazz. And that was how I did the first Celebration as a
He actually
as a
hooked
kid.
you up.
Actually hooked me up. I probably hooked him up at that time. I'm sure he never changed it and probably lost everything like a year later. Or
and Michelle Meyer got all of his money.
But yeah, them's were the days. Star Wars in Game says, I got my daughter Fortnite. She played it a handful of times for the last few months, just taking up over 100 gigabytes of hard drive space. Going, gone. Laugh out loud.
It's an SSD too.
Yeah. What I use the what's it called? I think it's called GeForce Now, and I just have that installed on my like Shield TV, which is like a Roku, and that way like I just stream the whole thing in super high quality, and it does okay because that's my thing about it is the space. It's insane. So I stream that game.
Well, I told you I have that weird situation where my provider runs off some backbone out of like Portland or Seattle.
Yeah.
And that has this hiccup so that I can't stream.
That's so
GeForce Now. Yeah. And they're like, I'm like, but I have like a gigabit internet. I'm like, what is going on? They're like, well, it's because of this thing. And I'm like, who do we sue? Because this is ridiculous.
Right. Yeah. Well, if you ever want to play Fortnite, I hope you have 100 gigabytes of space.
I play games to get away from people. Like that's like when we were going over the game options and Geek and everyone's like, hey, let's do MMOs. And I'm like, God, fucking, does the world need more of these? Like I just want to go to Star Wars World where I don't have to ever talk to normal people. I just want to talk. We can all role play. No, you won't role play. You won't. No. It'll eventually turn into politics or how much y'all hate He-Man or something. I just want to play the game with the stupid game AI,
Yeah. If you just hit the nail on the head for me. If AI was there, I would agree. But when I just learned how to beat a computer from observing it a few times, I just lose interest in it. I need to dominate someone. No, sorry, that got weird. It got real weird for a second. No, but I do like. I don't really like the human interaction. So like I don't play with the headset on and stuff like that because it just really amounts to like some 7-year-old calling me an inappropriate version of the F word, whichever one you want.
Or you end up in a, so like the last time I regularly played a multiplayer online game was Battlefield 1942, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like early 2000s.
Classic
And I'm on
dad
this
game.
Yeah, and I'm on this map, and every motherfucker was a sniper. So they're all sitting up on the hill waiting for someone to run down there so we could shoot you. And I'm like, this sucks. Like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
Sorry. You know?
Yeah. That's the way it goes. But and I play Fortnite with Indira Varma, and she always quits early. Get it? Okay, not really. No. Anyways, went down to the Mando set this morning. Not a lot to report other than the fact that they are getting ready to build. I could, by observing not what's built, but by what's there, I could tell that they're getting ready to get
Lots of empty sandwich wrappers.
Lots
right?
of
Takis.
lots of big pieces of wood, basically. Lots of lumber, and on a side note, they seem to be reusing a lot. And because I'm not Gary Kurtz, I'll tell you that lumber is very expensive right now.
I was going to say lumber's not cheap right now.
Lumber is not cheap right now. So I think they are pulling a lot of stuff out and repainting it up, and doing it that way. But I kind of think that, as I said last week, and I believe that Mando is starting right now, and I believe that Mando will be filming in October. So it could be filming earlier over there in the little volume. That's totally possible. Excuse me, but I think it's going to be filming everything full on by October, provided we don't have another shutdown and anything weird going on like that, because that is not going well. And I am hearing things about productions in England and the Pinewood area that are looking towards some kind of interesting issues going forward. Keep wondering if we're going to, and I'm not trying to make a story that like things are bad. I'm saying like it's what everyone's talking about. Is this going to, are they going to is Rogue Squadron going to start in the first quarter of next year? Is that going to be possible by then? I'm not sure. I mean, we'll have to see how that stuff goes, but they did film, they did get movies done still, I'm going to assume that they're going to, I'm curious if we're going to learn that they have made an interesting schedule for how to film like important parts of the movie, or parts that need to go and get the visual effects going first. That way
they're
stuff
shooting everything in Italy.
Everything in Italy. That would not be a good idea, would it? Wait, how is
no?
is
they're making it so if you don't get vaccinated in Italy, you get. Yeah, so they're doing the opposite. Like,
yeah, that's how it should be everywhere.
Yeah.
I think it's like at this point, I have no patience for somebody who is afraid to get a shot, or who thinks that it's going to make them infertile. It's like, think about it for just a second. Like
as they drink a bunch of Diet Arnold Palmers,
right? Yeah, as we like eat, as they're like chomping down fast food and everything
Sour
else.
Patch.
There's actually like a thing that's like a real concern, that like the sperm count of men has dropped by about 50% in the last 16 years, and they don't really know why. And it's like, oh, nobody cares about that. Everybody's
microplastics.
It's probably just all the junk that we do, and all of the stationary lifestyles that we have now.
Yeah.
Probably. But yeah, it doesn't really, like, I think it was Bill Burr who was doing a comedy bit where he's like, they're not going to make the people who listen to everyone infertile. All the rebels, that's the ones who they're going to want to make infertile, if you want to believe in this kind of like, conspiracy. Not the people who do what they're supposed to do. That doesn't make any sense. And it makes me laugh too, because like the people who needed to be vaccinated first, who they were ostensibly selling it to first, were people that were already past the reproductive age for the most part.
Look, man. You know, it's like trying to reason with the call-in lines on Coast to Coast AM, right?
Mhm.
It's like, not only could you not get through to the one person calling, do you think all the people on the phone listening to this conversation will then change their mind before they pick up the line and hear reason? Like, no, like it's just going to be this never-ending trail of nonsense, you know?
Right. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, because I mean, like I go through these periods, like my kids, like every couple of days are like, Dad, can we go to Disneyland? I want to go to Galaxy's Edge, have that macaroni and cheese. And I'm just like,
Man,
no.
I want to go to Galaxy's Edge and have that macaroni and cheese, and I haven't even.
Yeah.
I've never even been. So.
You got to do it one of these days. Got to say, have to say that since it was pretty much announced and we had a sort of price point in mind on that Star Wars hotel, I don't want it to fail, but I do not want it to succeed. Like,
JPAC needs to be removed. This is the guy used to be in charge of the parks, and he's the one who ran the Galaxy's Edge nonsense, you know, where everything was $1,000 for most. I mean, you know how to navigate the parks, but most people don't.
Mm-hmm.
And his over exploiting of the parks, you know, he's as bad as Eisner, but only faster. So Eisner over exploited home DVD sales for Disney and really hurt the brand for a while. And I can tell you, JPAC's doing the exact same thing, but with the theme parks and obviously this cruise situation. Like $5,000, like I get 500, 700, you know, $5,000. The fuck out of here, dude. I mean, it's not only is it insulting, it literally. And why don't you just put it the Ming Dynasty fucking cruise? You know, like I mean, what? Only politicians and billionaires are gonna go now? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and when if you round up actually correctly, it's $6,000 for like a family of 4.
It's fucking tuition, man.
That is just like, I mean, that is Star Wars for the elites or the people willing to go in debt. And
it's a decent used car.
Mm-hmm. It really is. Yeah. And man, it's like, if it's the raddest experience of all time, I understand it costs money. But I'm just like, this is what you guys decided to develop. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Am I going off on a socialist Marxist rant here that Star Wars should be for everyone, or is that price point like utterly like I just feel like it's like so unobtainable for the average fan that it's just, I think it's not right. You know, I would rather they have developed something else, even if it was like essentially got rid of the hotel aspect of it and made it the equivalent of Star Wars at medieval times, which is like this restaurant in Buena Park where it's like a castle themed with knights and stuff, and you eat and you watch the fight and there's like the mini shows. If they wanted to do something like that and it was going to cost a bit more because, you know, you get food and it was an experience and there was like a day 1 and a day 2 kind of thing and you pay, you know, I could understand that, but man, that money is just ridiculous. And I am punk rock enough that if I did have that kind of money, I wouldn't go. I would be like, no, I could put that in my kid's college fund, you know what I mean, and get something out of it in the big picture, as opposed to just throwing that down now. It's like, ugh.
Yeah, family of 4, you know, $500-$700 I get. Maybe 1,000 top for like the extreme package.
Yeah.
Because when you count like, okay, a cruise is about $1,000-$1,200 for around the world. That's around the world. This is a fucking 4-day where it's probably literally spinning around in a fucking circle because the windows are fucking sealed shut. You don't know. You know, I mean, you literally could be spinning around that fire in the Gulf and you wouldn't even know, you know? Like, remember when the ocean caught on fire? People forget about that. Remember 4 weeks ago when the ocean caught on fire?
Right.
We all thought it was a CGI shot from a Michael Bay movie.
I didn't. I knew. I'm like, no, that's this world. I was just like, no, that's real. Yeah, they don't tend to make fake things that could happen. They just make fake things that are ridiculous usually. But yeah. So what does Santa say? Santa says universities here are putting indoor mask mandates in again. if things stay on this course, we'll be in full lockdown again soon. Yeah, I am really sick of it because I completely I follow the rules. I don't want anybody dying because of my mismanagement of my life. I don't want to lose the ability to get boners, you guys. That's important. You can lose the ability to get a boner when you get COVID, and they don't really sell that much, but it's true. Like a third of the dudes getting COVID, who are getting it in a really high temperature, are having those blood vessels not come back.
Let's hope it happens to someone we all know.
Let's,
if you understand what I'm saying, some orange thing
people?
we all are.
Yeah.
Let's hope it happens to one thing in particular.
Yeah, no, I honestly wish I could wish that, but I don't. I just don't want anybody to get it. I hope.
No. The dude already got it. So
yeah.
I'm just hoping the side effects.
Yeah.
That's done. Like the getting it's already done. It's just I hope the long-term side effects affect the people that exacerbated this the most,
if you want to look at it from a Palpatine-esque perspective, the only way the orange guy is going to go probably is with some paid call girl from a heart attack from doing a little bit of cocaine and that. So maybe that's not the best wish. But anyways,
David Carradine's like, yo.
Yeah, no, but I mean cause I have small kids. They can't get vaccinated. So
no.
I'm vaccinated. I felt freedom for a few days, and then I quickly came to the conclusion. I'm like, you know what? I could still get this and transmit this to my kids. I'm not free. I'm not out of the woods. But my kids, I don't know if everyone else's kids are this way, but my kids, we talked about it a lot, and they understand what it is and why it is. And they're not unreasonable, which drives me crazy that my children are more reasonable than many of my adult family members. It's really strange, but that is the world. But I do want to take them back to Disneyland before they are 35. And I do, I took my son to the Green Knight, which, oops, didn't look into that one enough. But by the way, on a side,
it's like taking your 4-year-old to Excalibur,
Yeah.
Hey.
No, I didn't expect a couple of things in there. Thankfully, though, because of what was going on, he was already doing the I know how to shield my eyes thing, so we were good. But I will say, and what we did was we waited in the parking lot until the time of the show and all the seats were available, so we knew there wouldn't be anybody in there. It was like, boom, we're going. So we went and saw it. But I loved that movie. That movie was, I don't know, man. I hear people love it or people hate it, and I am in the camp that I love it. Like 4 days later, I'm still thinking about that movie. I think it was so well done. I hope that guy gets to do, what's his name? Neil something. I can't remember.
Oh, the director?
Yeah.
I do not know.
Yeah, it's Neil something. I hope that guy gets to do something with Star Wars. The movie's not dialogue heavy, I would say, for the most part. And what's his name? I gotta remember anybody's name today. But the main actor, who was actually up for Finn for a time, by the way, the guy who plays the Green Knight,
and Jesse Plemons.
Yeah, Jesse Plemons. Yeah, he was fantastic, and I just like the whole layout of it was just so well done. But where I was going with it is that director knows, and that actor, they got it down on how to not say anything and say a lot, and that's what works with Star Wars, and that's one of the reasons why the Mandalorian works, because I always thought you needed to see their face, but after you watch the Mandalorian, you're like, you know what, not being able to see his face is why we put so much emotion that isn't there. If we could see his face I have a feeling, not because of diminishing returns, but as the Mandalorian's face is seen more, that things will work less. That is kind of my prediction, and not a slight on Pedro Pascal, who's fantastic, just that people have been able to put a lot into the performance. I have a video on it on the channel about what that effect is called and stuff. Some film school bullshit, but it's
also comes down to lighting. Like
Mhm.
when I look at like in the CGI for like Bad Batch, when it's just like the stormtrooper helmets, I just feel like the texturing or the lighting's weird on them. You know, like I don't understand. But if you look at like the lighting on, say like the man, I know one live action is CGI, but
Mhm.
when it's lit right, you can stare at it forever. You understand what I mean? Like you can see into the like I don't know what it's like, almost mesmerizing. You're just like, oh, look at the armor. Like I just something very appealing about that. Even like the CGI troopers in Attack of the Clones, compared to maybe the way they rendered them out in Episode 3. They got better with the lighting. It makes a big difference, I think.
Yeah.
So the masks definitely help, but also it's the lighting. Like if they're lit poorly, then
Yeah. No, and I also think the volume work I think works better with the mask in general.
reflectivities and stuff because it's
Just
picking up. Yeah.
I think there's something about the actual like flesh on the background, and we're talking like it doesn't matter. It works without it. I'm not saying that. I think it's an amazing piece of technology, but I do think that you get more out of the fact when you can't see actual skin tones against it, because then it just makes the whole image to me look it looks more realistic. I think in the shots. Next time you watch Mando, look at the shots when you see somebody who has skin, like in the episode on Tatooine with the kid, the Mos Eisley Cantina episode, when they go out into the Tatooine wilderness. When you just see a shot of just Mando, if you just show me that picture, I might buy that it was shot on set. I mean, shot on location. When you see the shots with the kid in the volume, that's when you could tell. That's when you could tell because the lighting isn't natural on the face, or there's something different about it. I can't put my finger on it. Rick Jones says that Disney leadership doesn't understand the travel industry, and yeah, I will say I kind of used to stick up for Disneyland itself, where I was just like, yeah, you if you don't want to spend $25 on a churro, then don't get one. Bring your own food. I was pretty much like I'm pretty pragmatic about it because I live in the area. So like there's a Taco Bell on the way. I'll stop and grab Taco Bell, and we'll eat at the Taco Bell and then go into Disneyland and not spend $50, and I'll bring waters in my bag or something and stuff like that. But I still think that for the most part, a family that can afford to take a Disneyland trip can usually afford to overspend on those prices if they want to. To me, I just feel like when that other stuff is so out of reach, I feel like they have lost touch. And I will also say that I found their response during the COVID stuff to be absolutely disgusting. And the way that they are willing to play with people's lives because they feel that their bullshit analysis is safe. When, like, for instance, social distancing, you should still do it because it's not like it hurts. But for a very long time, we've known that doesn't actually do anything at all. Like the aerosol tests and stuff like that have all proven that to be pretty much bullshit. It can linger and somebody sneezes, it can linger in place for 5 minutes. Disneyland, going down Main Street, somebody will be sneezing every 5 minutes. So you know what I mean? You just don't know.
Well, so in 2015, I have a nephew from my wife's side. They came down from Canada. And he was like 10 or something at the time. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to Disneyland for Christmas. He's never been, probably never going to go again. And so took him on Christmas Day. And that was, normally Christmas was dead at the park, but Chapek and them, this is when Chapek first ended up on my radar, decided to, because they felt that Christmas was underutilized. They took they overbooked the park with foreign tours, right? Which, fine, bring in more people, but bro, the park they had to shut down the main park because it was over capacity.
Yeah.
And a freaking virus broke out. A giant flu-like, go look at 2015, flu breakout, influenza at Disneyland. I was there for that,
Yeah.
And I was looking around and I'm like, this is a lot of people from a lot of different parts of the world being shoved into the point where they can't fit them in the park anymore. I've never been at the park where it's been over capacity. And I was watching, they're like, we're shutting the park down for over capacity. No one wanted to go to California Adventure, even though I did, because I was like, it's spaced out better. right? So I'll go to California Adventure. But I was watching people shove their kids through the gate just to get them into the park. Like it's over capacity. What are you gonna do? That to me was the first time. And by the way, the last time I've been to Disneyland, because I was like, something's changed here, and I don't know what it is. And then I found out Shapehack was running the park, and I saw what they were doing.
Yeah.
With the pricing and everything else. And I'm like, this really reminds me of Eisner's last years. And when they made him the CEO, I was like, oh, it's not going to go well.
Yeah.
You know, like, and there's a whole, like, I read an article not too long ago about companies that have this like rise with like a star CEO, right? It's like a Steve Jobs or somebody like that. And in this case, like an Iger, right? And then they go to the next term, and the next term always, you know what I mean? Just, you know, like, has Tim Cook really brought Apple up? Like, is that what's happened? They've just produced more phones at higher prices. No one looks to Apple for innovation. Show me one person who's like, oh, the new Apple, like, well, we got Cyberman earpods, you know, like, wonderful.
Yeah.
So,
Pretty much like, I like Apple to me right now is just, it's about the platform, about maintaining the platform I've been on. That's pretty much.
But that was the article I read, that the newer CEOs tend to just try to do the same thing that was going, but just keep it going.
Yeah.
They don't really innovate.
Right.
You know, and so you could say when Eisner and Katzenberg first came into Disney, they weren't the one after Walt. It was that group of like bankers and there's like the Disney War covers this pretty well, but like the Disney Imagineering, whatever that Disney documentary briefly touches that interim period.
Yeah.
And they did it horribly. Like it was going down, you know what I mean? The movie division was like, everything was tanking. So they came in and at least brought in a shot of energy. But then after a while, you know, like it went to shit in the late 90s, which we all got to experience. So
yeah, used to be out in Southern California. If you had a pass and you would go in October, you could pretty much go on everything, and it was really chill and not packed. And in the last like 2 years, you go in October, it might as well be July, you know. And I think that's one of the reasons that they got rid of the passes, is that yet they were looking for the excuse to do it, because they started to believe that pass holders didn't spend money there. Like how I was talking about how, you know, you don't have to spend money there. But the reason why they think that is that they do these surveys where they have these people who bother you, and they ask you, hey, did you eat in the park today? Will you take our 5-minute survey? And we always say no, because we don't want to do the survey every time we go. And so I know for a fact that their data collection on that is bullshit, and that every time I do go and I don't spend money on food, I end up buying my kids an action figure for $14.99 instead of $10 at Target or something.
Why
you know,
just bring the cost of the food down. We'd run out of food. Well, that'd be a better fucking habit than having all this food you're throwing away. Like, this is where, look, there's limits of unfettered capitalism, right? Like there's like any other market, any other thing in the world, you can't just have continual growth no matter what you do. Like, continually get bigger, see what happens.
Right.
No, add your own net weight every year and see how that goes for your health. You know,
that is like, the problem with actual imperialism, is without growth you're in decline. And as we know, GDP needs to grow by 3%, or you end up in a recession. And
so they could easily do things where, like, hey, buy a churro, but you'll get one for the family each. You know what I mean? If you're with the family of 3, you buy one, you'll get 2 extra churros. They could do that, scale it up and scale it down if they wanted to. Yeah. Right? But they are literally just trying to find a way to take every dollar from you, you know, as to maximize every dollar. And this reminds me, I mean, the biggest, I mean, short of now, the biggest hubris ever is that Star Wars ship. But before that, it was that launching of California Adventure, where it was just these empty big box stores, you know, and with like a $70 entry fee and the shittiest rides you can imagine, you know.
Well, what they did was that 70% of the stat I've heard, anyways, that people who visit Disneyland, 70% of them are Californians. So they made a California themed park for 70% of California. It's like, how stupid was that? Like, when that opened up, I was younger. I was like, I don't care. Like, I'm not going there, you know.
I just got out the army. I'm like, you really want me to go hang out at a little version of California? I live in what is this? Like, I could not understand it.
Yeah. Brian Bad Batch. That's your new name, Brian. Brian Bad Batch says, some exclusive experiences are not prices for the masses. Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. Like, what you're saying is factually true. But I will say, I look at Star Wars like a Fordist model, and Ford wanted everyone to make enough money to be able to afford a Ford. And I think everybody who likes something as basic as Star Wars should be able to experience it. I'm not saying that they should be, giving out grants for underprivileged people to come to it. I'm saying, how about you compartmentalize these experiences at different prices, and just take a different model than making it a straight up hotel. I would have.
I'll tell you what it reminds me of. It really reminds me of the late '90s when they decided CD sales would go up to $40. Remember when you had you go to Blockbuster Music and it was $40 for a CD?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, that's that's the market can demand it. I'm like, people aren't buying this for 20, sure as shit. Not paying $40 for what? You pay $40 for a video game. I'm like, yeah, I'm playing this for 20 fucking hours. I'm gonna be done with this damn CD in like 15. It's got 30 minutes worth of music and 6 of it's worth listening to. And I like B-sides. So.
And for the youngins, this is before, for the most part, you could only sample the singles that you would hear on the radio. Sometimes a record store would have a little booth where you could listen to 30 seconds of each thing. That didn't last very long, but it was a thing. And so you would buy a CD, but on the flip side of it, when you did buy a CD, you listened carefully. Like today, you put out a record and people will either love it or give it one listen, never listen to it again. Back then, you would get something 4 or 5, and sometimes a record, you wouldn't like it on the first time, but it would grow on you. And some of the better things, like as a kid, as a teenager, like Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys, love the basic singles, but it wasn't until I bought Pet Sounds that I actually listened to it over and over and realized what a magnificent piece of work the whole thing is.
There's a band I've been listening to since '97 called Big Wreck. And they put out 2 albums, maybe 3, and then they disappeared for 10 years. They're a Canadian band. And then they put out another album. They've been putting one out every 2 to 3 years pretty consistently since then.
We're going to disappear for 10 years, eh?
And they have their own, you listen to them, you'll be like, they sound 90s-ish, but they're good. But every album I go, all right, cool, I love that last album. I put it in, it's their sound, it's them, but they don't make the same one.
Yeah.
When you first listen to it, it's always that I don't know, I just wanted more of the, and then after I listen to the whole thing, I'm like, that's my new favorite album. It's funny how that works,
Yeah.
It's totally, and I think about that all the time, as a creator, you want people to recognize who you are, but you don't want to just keep making the same thing over and over again, which, by the way, Star Wars kind of suffers from, right? If you look at the designs behind me, do you think JJ's ever going to do anything? You think any of these groups are going to sit in a room for 4 years and design a Star Wars movie that looks like that? That's nuts, right?
I hope so. But yeah, your little clown girl, which is what we called Padme when we first saw her. That one is a weird one. I don't know what it's going to take for somebody to get that wild in their designs. The only way I could see it maybe happening is when they decide to change eras, straight up, do the Old Republic style thing, but not with what we've seen before, and actually give it a new aesthetic. Because that's kind of the problem I feel with Star Wars design overall, is that they did sort of learn something from the Old Republic, or Knights of the Old Republic, which I don't think was a good lesson. And that's that most people will just buy into what they've seen before if they can make a connection. That's the Star Destroyer, and it looks like the ones I know, or that looks like, but there's just this one little change that makes it different. And I want, when you have, Doug Chang and that team making stuff, I want to see them do another Phantom Menace era design kind of pull, what you're getting at.
The designs of the ships that people felt was wrong with the Phantom Menace. It was the fact that it was just not I put the movie in and have fun. It was this slow, takes its time, and then stilted dialogue. But then you get to the pod race, no one complained. Show me anything about the pod race. I mean, you could say speeder bikes. It doesn't look like the speeder bikes. The pod racers don't look anything like speeder bikes. It's not even remotely close. So I just feel like long as it has adventure and swashbuckling, you know, whether that's a Western or a samurai or whatever, you're good to go. It's just that the I just feel like if you keep going down the path of Star Wars can only look one way, man, it's gonna be death knell to it quicker than later. You know, like
yeah, for sure. I mean, I will say, excuse me, that going back to A New Hope era and always going back and having an adventure in there is probably a wise thing to go back to that every couple of films, a Rogue One, so to speak, every now and then.
Or the new creator to inject some energy into it to give you a new take. Like if you got a James Gunn and then you got like a Catherine Bigelow, you know what I mean? Like you'd get two different kinds of things.
But yeah. what JJ did right, what he did pick up on was when those three actors are running around the Death Star, when, you know, Harrison Ford, Mark Hamill, and Carrie Fisher are running around on the Death Star, they seem to be having fun. And it is an infectious kind of fun where it's like kids sneaking around, ditching class or something. There's almost this like little like vibe to it. And the actors naturally had that kind of personality. And so JJ did a good job in the sense that when he, you know, the way that, like we were talking about before, like that moment when Finn and Poe meet, you have that. They have that kind of like rapport. You like those guys. Like, I want to have, these guys are fun and I want to see their space adventures. So he wisely made sure to interject that part of it. And I think that was like, I think that's where his first focus was on that movie, was like, let's get that vibe back. And you don't always need that or want that. Like Rogue One wouldn't probably benefit from it being a fun movie where everybody dies. But in terms of like your general like space opera, little fun thing, it makes sense. But now that we've had the sequel trilogy, and you can see what kind of acting works and what doesn't, and what the parameters, I think, of the acting are kind of laid out. I do hope that the future directors branch out, push the design more, and, you know, obviously pick what works. And that is the one thing, not the one thing, but that is a thing about the Kathleen Kennedy run show now, is those people who are there, those producers, like, you know, who are working with her, they know that at this point, I think they have a pretty clear idea what's going to fly and what's probably not. You know, that's after they've made more Star Wars movies than anyone at this point. And so with that in mind, I am both confident that the next ones will be fun and they won't suffer from all of a sudden being some weird stilted mess. I wouldn't think. Like, I'll be honest. I'll be honest. You never know. It happens.
They can't all be winners.
Wonder Woman 1984 does not make me go, oh man, let's make a Star Wars movie with this team. But at the same time, I do think that she's a great filmmaker, and that if the powers that be at Lucasfilm probably wouldn't let Wonder Woman 1984 turn out that way.
That's such a weird. That movie's such a weird flex, because really. I mean, I walked out of that first Wonder Woman movie going like, when the little girl in that movie, like picks herself up stuff in the first film, right? Like she's like running and doing her stuff. I'm like, this isn't important. Like this is really working. This is amazing. This is fun. This is like somewhere between like the Band of Brothers, the Atlantis. You know, remember the Disney Atlantis movie? It has like that kind of like Indiana Jones' adventure thing, and I'm like, this works. And even if the bad guy's a little CGS, I don't care. This is fun. This works. Right. I took my wife to see it. I mean, you're actually going to enjoy this. Get to that second film. I was like, loved that first trailer with the 80s song and stuff. But you watch the movie, I was like, is this a CW show? Like, this is awfully like, there's something very cheap TV about this. I don't know how to put my finger on it. Like, I'm like, are these the same people? Like,
yeah.
What happened? I don't understand. I don't understand. Like, I'm just confused. And then you know, the fans online, they feel they have to support it, because if they don't, they're never going to get a female driven superhero film again, which is ridiculous. And it's sad to say, I understand their fears, but don't reward, like, be critical. You can be critical in a healthy way. That is not a worthy follow-up to that first film.
No, it wasn't.
In some ways, it laughs at you within its own film. Like, when she just shows up with the eagle stuff just on the wall. You know what I mean? I'm like, what is going on here?
Yeah, when it was pulled, like, it was kind of weird, because when it was feeling 80s, it was on. When it was pulling from the Richard Donner Superman stuff, I loved it. I mean, that was probably for me, actually. Like, I was like, yeah, do this. And then it would stop. And when it would transition from those two things, that's when it would start to feel like, I think what you were calling like that, like the CW vibe, where it just was inconsistent in that way.
Like when she jumps up in the air in the desert, which saves the kids, but she's rolling over and they're clearly like mannequins. Like, it's like that. Remember that American Sniper movie where the dude's like talking to a toy baby, and it's clearly a toy baby. It's not a real kid. It's so weird. I thought, you know, if it opened up with this sort of like Olympics like, you know, moment, it has that whole like Olympics, like Themyscira Olympics. I thought it was going to end on the '84 Los Angeles Olympics,
right?
Like, because there was that whole like Alex Jones Project Northwoods conspiracy theory about how like they were going to project holograms at the Olympics in 1984. I'm like, ooh, I wonder if they're going there, right? That'd be fun to throw in there. No, don't even, like, that's where, you know, as a fan of weird esoteric knowledge, you're just like, probably shouldn't overthink what they're gonna do, you know, like, should kind of give it a little surface level. I thought they would start with an Olympics, at least end with Olympics, because the '84 Los Angeles Olympics, that's a big deal.
I remember I was like 3 years old maybe, and I remember the runner running by my house with the fire, with the torch.
Yeah, I thought that would be the backdrop, and I'm like, it's like, you know, remember when they did Age of Apocalypse? So people don't go, it's two white guys complaining about a female movie. All right, let's talk about Age of Apocalypse set in the 80s. Why? What was the point of it? Matter of fact, it's weird. In Age of Apocalypse, there's a scene where they're watching.
What is Age of Apocalypse?
Sorry, X-Men Apocalypse, right?
Oh, okay.
I call it Age of Apocalypse, I'm from the 90s, right? So X-Men Apocalypse, it's set in the 80s for what reason? Other than there's no, like, in each of those X-Men films, there was a backdrop between the 60s Cuban Missile Crisis, 70s, basically the Iranian hostage kind of like tension, and, you know, the Cloak and Dagger Cold War stuff. What would be the 80s? And I thought, well, for certain, if you take a logical extension forward, that maybe Russia and America, instead of building superpowers, were building mutant powers, right? Mutant superpowers. So Magneto would go to Russia, right? And Professor Xavier would come to America, and they're stockpiling mutants instead of nuclear weapons. No. Like, you know, you watch the film and they're watching TV and they're watching 60s Star Trek episodes. I'm like, this is the 80s. What shouldn't it be like, instead of Apollo Creed versus Rocky, it should be like Rocky versus Colossus. You know what I mean? Like, Colossus is like, or the Ivan Drago is like Colossus, right? Like, it should be this 80s us versus the superpowers. And I just could not understand how, like, that seemed like such a natural thing to do. I didn't do any of that. So
that's my anxiety about the Rogue Squadron movie, is the fact that, like, the Richard Donner Superman side of it was, I feel, very strong. And it showed a really good, astute understanding of what made that stuff its very essence of what it was. I'm afraid that the Rogue Squadron movie pulls that and does that with Star Wars, and then slides back over into something else inconsistently. Because once you feel that classic Star Wars vibe, if they slip out of that, the fans are going to turn on it with Star Wars. Unlike the Richard Donner thing, where you're pulling on the old Superman vibe, and I dig it. That's not the original, or the original. The Reeves Superman isn't necessarily like the most popular thing in the world these days. It's not necessarily what defines it for younger people. But Star Wars, I think the original Star Wars stuff still does define it. And
well, we also don't know. Maybe Patty Jenkins just wasn't into making a sequel. You know, but she was like, look, money.
But
You
well,
know,
she's doing a third one. I think she's doing a third one, so I'm gonna go as she was.
So everyone's look. I'm not gonna say as an artist, I can't make everything perfect every time. You're gonna have
Yeah.
some misfires.
Mhm.
I'm just confused about 1 second.
Yeah.
I'm just confused about like when you watch a film, like certainly there has to be some criticisms, and no different than when I watch Rise of Skywalker. I got a million criticisms, you know.
Sure.
So I just hope that when it comes to Rogue Squadron, they go, "Oh, Top Gun." Let's hope that there's a bit more to it than just a flight instructor at his school trying to like prove his worth because his dad used to be something and he couldn't live up to it. Like,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
if it's just that, I'm like, all right, we saw that movie. Have an influence, but just don't remake Top Gun. You know,
Well,
like please.
Yeah.
Don't.
Well, number one is I don't think they're remaking Top Gun either.
Because Patty
I don't,
Jenkins is a great filmmaker, but she's not like Tony Scott.
Mhm.
People probably one of the most underrated directors of all time.
Mhm.
You know, and legitimately came up with the look that Michael Bay and all those guys stole, basically. You know, the Don Simpson, Bruckheimer thing. Like, that's our look. That's Tony Scott. You just took Tony Scott's look. So I don't want to cut you off. I just feel like when directors who have their own voice, like Patty had a voice with Monster, you know, and I believe like that trench sequence, the World War I trench sequence was her voice.
Mm-hmm.
That I believe that voice needs to come through. I just hope that it's not like her emulating a Tony Scott film, you know?
Yeah, I feel like when it comes to what classically made Star Wars work, though, it was hitting all of the strings that resonated with the particular genres that it was pulling from. So in my mind, if you were to do a Rogue Squadron movie and I was making it, like I said, I would be pulling from all of that stuff, everything from Dam Busters to Top Gun and Iron Eagle, and you'd be using all of those tropes in a concentrated 2-hour experience of the whole
100%.
thing, you know. And
American
that's what
culture is an amalgamation of all other cultures because we have no culture, right?
Right.
It's an amalgamation of all the cultures that came to America, and one could say Star Wars is like the high peak of that entertainment wise, where it's pulling from highbrow, it's pulling from lowbrow. I mean, literally, old Republic serials is the Republic, right? Like it's the craziest thing ever, and so I agree with you. It should be pulling from those things. I just hope that they know that and not they're pulling from one thing.
Yeah, no, and that's what makes me just not understand the Wonder Woman experience, where it hit those notes right and then stepped away from it constantly. Santa says, I priced a stay at the Yacht and Beach Club Resort, 2 nights with park admission for 2 for just over $2,200. Double that for the Star Wars hotel? I think not.
I look, if I had to give them some defense, perhaps it's like we're gonna price it this high to keep people from coming, to satiate demand. But then I'm like, so what? Only the wealthy? Or you're gonna force families to feel like they have to go into debt? Like it's kind of like, you know, people who take their weddings too serious, and they end up going into $100,000s of dollars worth of debt for a wedding, and then they can never own a home. Like it's this craziest thing I've ever in my lifetime. It's one of the craziest things I've seen happen. Like what in the 90s, if you told me a wedding would cost $100,000, I would have been like, "You're what? Like, what's $100,000? Like, that's so crazy." And it happens all the time.
That is not smart. Geek Furious. I mean, look at Anakin and Padme. They worked out. Geek Furious says, buy $6,000 worth of Dogecoin today, and you'll be able to get Star Wars Westworld next year. Right? That's true, but that's probably true. Red 5 says, what up, boys? Yeah, fuck that hotel.
We should be the ones that should be super bummed about the pandy so we could go on the hotel, right? Like that would be we're the ones who are like, if it was like 1,000, he'd be like, all right, put me on the waiting list. You know, maybe I get this year or next year, but me and the kids are going. $4,800.
Yeah, Santa says Galactic Cruiser 2 nights with park admission for 2 over $4,800. Wow. And I just hope that when this probably doesn't perform adequately, they don't start blaming Star Wars for it, because I honestly
blame Chapek.
I mean, if they were gonna, I can only make a crass joke about what would be worth that money, and it's not even then worth that money. Nolan Ryan says, couldn't get a boner before COVID anyway. Ayo, just kidding.
Ayo.
That wouldn't be something I'd cheer about. Yeah. Here's the weird part, man. I couldn't get a boner, and I got COVID, and now I got boners all the time. No,
I used to have a DL50. Now I just got a Saturday night stunner.
I had one of those weird things like that guy. What was that guy, the pornographer who had like that weird pump after he was in that accident or got shot?
Mark
that
Wahlberg?
Movie, no, the movie with Courtney Love. The guy who did he rent
the hustler guy. Yeah,
the hustler guy. Yeah. So Richie says, is Indy 5 close to finishing shooting? That I won't lie, I don't actually know, but I know that there's a few things lined up still, which makes me feel like there's quite a bit still to go. And we don't know how much or if at all anything was delayed by having to use the double instead of Harrison.
No camels.
So, no camels. Dell says there are a few things that make the high price make sense. You can always bring the price down, prevent overbooking and overflowing, wait lists, etc. But the thing about it, Dell, is that there's only the amount of rooms that there are. So if it gets booked up for a whole year at that price with every single day full, then that's mission accomplished for them, because they are hiring like the person who's going to play Rey and Kylo. That person's there to work. Like the cost, I think, is going to be what it is to run, probably for the most part, except for like the cleaning of the rooms and stuff, obviously. But yeah, I'm not sure. He goes on to say it gives incentive to save coupons and watch the deals and find other things going on. It's true.
Dale's a very nice guy. He's very
Dell is. I'm like socialist revolution at Disneyland now. Let's do it. And Dell's like, hey, you know what? Let's just look at coupons maybe.
Dale's the kind of guy you probably want to be stranded on the island with. You know, like he'll keep everyone. Like, let's bring it down bring it down to like a 4.
Dell says it's a lot harder to get more money out of people because you added something to the experience or to improve it. And that's like the other thing that was like, when you're there, do you really have incentive to leave? Mike Papa says, I took Molly. Where did you take her? Let's act dumb. Where did you take her? Typho,
Heritage Park.
House. I took my little cousin to California Adventure, and the only ride liked was Soarin'.
I love Soarin'.
Yeah, I took my kids to the opening of the Legoland thing right as things looked like they were going okay in the pandemic. And they were having, mask rules, and it was for press only, so it was going to be really small. But they basically took the Soarin' over California ride and put it there and turned it into the Lego ride. Not that they took the one from that park, but
you soar through Legos.
Yeah, you soar through the Lego movie.
Nice.
Yeah, it was, and it has like all kinds of scents and stuff. It was neat. The
in
kids
3D or just one big screen.
It's just one big screen. If it was 3D, it would have been much better. And I will say
like
the Lego screen was a little bit blurry for my eyes, anyways. So, Stickman says, love Big Wreck. Richie says, hey Jason, have any Kenobi reports that you're planning to drop soon? I always have stuff I would hope to report soon, but as soon as I
dropping
can.
Obies.
Yeah, I mean, believe me, it's always a situation where I want to report everything I can right away, but there are reasons that they either say I can't or I can't. So the minute that I can, but I will also say I don't think huge at this moment. I don't expect there to be huge plot drops coming. And I will also say, not casting shade on anybody's past reports, but the emphasis I've been told is not correct. So when you read a couple of reports, it can feel like they're like the things you read in those reports are everything. No, I've been told flat out no. Eric says, agreed, $6,000 is extreme. That's before taking into consideration getting a family of 4 to Florida. Yeah, that too. I mean, that's a good point. Like for us and on California, that ends up probably, who knows, and you probably get COVID. Chandler Dyson says, I got a Black Series Mando helmet this weekend, and I gotta say, best Hasbro product I've bought in years. Very high quality for the price. That's cool.
My Razor, was it the Razor Crest? I pre-ordered that last year. Did that pre-bought it, whatever, through the Hasbro Pulse. It's overpriced, but it's a Razor Crest, and that's going right back there. Like, I can't wait. It should be here somewhere in October, November.
Nice. Yeah. I remember people getting kind of mad that, like, oh, it got blown up, and then they bought it, and I was just like, everything gets blown up in Star Wars. Sailbarge got blown up. Hey,
Enterprise got blowed up in every Star Trek movie.
Thank you for supporting the show, Salah. Luke's called the GOAT Jedi, but I argue Anakin and Obi-Wan were greater. In the OT, Luke had a great ACT act. To be GOAT, we need to see him between episodes 6 and 7. Yeah, I think we got a little taste of that in the Mando, in that moment where we see him doing a lot of Anakin's Jedi moves and things like that. But I'm completely with you in that we need Luke Skywalker stories after Return of the Jedi. We say it every day. Every day we are like, get, what's his name?
Sebastian Stan.
Sebastian.
I know that one.
I almost said Sebastian Bach.
I almost said Sebastian the Crab. Under the Star Wars.
Yeah. No, but get that. Yeah. I mean, like get that guy and let's see Luke Skywalker being amazing, and we do have to, like what Ryan did though, we do have to have a reason that he's not able to just become essentially a god. You can't have him, if he's this all-powerful being who can like handle anything, then you just run into problems with the fact that he's Superman and there's not a lot to do other than have him save cats out of trees and stuff. But there is a way of telling a story that is more complicated, where Luke can be, essentially that guy, and we can see him in all of his greatness. And I kind of feel like the moment to do that is before there's a lot of Jedi acolytes with him, when he is still like just one powerful dude, but against the entire galaxy without the support of maybe Ezra Bridger and people like that, and Ahsoka Tano maybe even, who like will meet up with him and be a part of his new little space cult. But I mean, that's what the Jedi are. They are a space cult when you get down to it. They're taking babies from parents, separating from families, educating them, and yeah. But I really do think that like there's a good story there with Mara, because wouldn't it be great if we did have essentially, and I'm on a Green Knight kick, and you could tell from the trailers, I don't think I'm ruining it, like the Green Knight is the character in the Green Knight. He's a horrible knight. That's like the whole point. He's a shithead. But you at some point have to lean into your virtue, and Luke Skywalker is a knight. And so having him meet Mara and having all of that sort of thing where she's out to kill him because the Emperor implanted this idea in her mind. And since we know that Palpatine's alive, Palpatine can still be sending her the fucking messages.
Why do you remind me about this?
But you see what I'm saying though? But think about but I mean like it was like this echo in her mind that just wouldn't stop. Right. But with Palpatine being alive now,
voices deep from space.
Yeah, I mean, you can essentially have Palpatine in that story, and urging her, and nudging her, but you can still go into a very romantic story where, in the end, they decide to do the right thing, or she does the right thing and ultimately perishes or something like that. You know what I mean? And so like Luke realizes, I shouldn't have gotten involved with someone personally. That's not how I can do this because of my role. And he does have that role. Like when you really look at it, like what's actually on his shoulders in reality, you want to say everyone has a right to a personal life and stuff like that. But with that guy's job, I don't think if he takes it seriously, would really have time to be a husband, time to be a dad. Like he
Well, I think there's
essentially,
also
yeah.
a way to tie that into the bloodlines thing of when Leia is found out to be an actual sibling of the daughter of Vader.
Hmm.
You know, Mara finds out, oh, I mean, yeah, I get all the rebels killed Palpatine, but Vader, you know what I mean, is the one who really killed him. Maybe she would know that, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, Leia killed Vader, you know what I mean? In a sense, like, or Leia's the daughter of the guy who killed Palpatine, you know, like, and then that puts a rift, right? Mara wanting revenge, and then she looks at Luke in a whole different way, like, you're his son, you know what I mean? Like, because that knowledge isn't known to people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just not until a certain point when it is, and I just like that idea that they found out, and it became this giant negative. Like, oh, we found out that the people running our galaxy are the kids of Hitler. You know, like that is super controversial, and for me, like, probably should have been the basis for the whole sequel trilogy. Really, like, it's such a great idea.
Yeah.
You know?
I think I wonder if that one came from Ryan or if it came from Claudia Gray. But anyways, it's a great idea. I think too, it could be also in a weird way fascinating if Mara doesn't perish and you do have the story, and then down the road you're able to tell the story of Leia, and I'm sorry, of Rey finding Mara.
Well, that
And
would have been
and
what
and
Kurtz talked about with the original trilogy, right? That
I
Luke
think
and their mother was on the other side of the galaxy, right?
yeah, Luke had a long lost sister whose name was Nelith. And so when they send Luke to fight an Empire, the idea was, well, if he fails, we'll get Nelith. That was kind of like their backup plan. And but yeah, but I mean, showing that and having, Rey now a Jedi essentially, and then having Mara come in and being the Leia Luke surrogate, but at the same time different, is an opportunity for some kind of drama or some kind of philosophical differences that Rey would have to contend with and pull from the best. Because you could have Mara being very pragmatic and Luke being a traditionalist in the Jedi way, and that's what Rey has essentially found between the Jedi text and her interactions with Skywalker. And then when she meets her, she's like, a lot of the stuff doesn't make sense. This is a space cult after all. You could take it in that kind of direction, which I would not mind. But yeah, Luke Skywalker, he needs somebody to fight, somebody to contend with, and a Batman Catwoman relationship would be good. Not urging them to go back to the Mara cat suit. Looks a bit, either to me looks like somebody in fetish gear or very bad Star Wars Matrix-y looking kind of costume design. So I hopefully Mara gets a definitive good costume one of these days, or something better anyways. But yeah, so so anyways, once again though, thank you Sala for supporting the show. I do appreciate it. Hustler Brian Flynn, American Hero. I am getting a phone call.
Larry Flint.
Larry Flint. That's right.
Yeah.
Eric Denton says, our last trip to Disneyland was with Jason and kids. Oh, yeah. Dang, that's been a long time, man. It had been a year or more gap between trips. The overcrowding was something to behold. As a former park employee, I want to see the ROTR ride, Marvel Land. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Chapek is... I can't say it enough. Go do your research, folks, if you want to know what he's done to those parks.
Can you take over the show for 1 second? I have a package on the doorstep that I don't want to get stolen. I will be right back. I'll be right back.
Haha, suckers! Now you're stuck with me. Let's talk about the Phantom Menace. No, so I did want to bring up. There was a point in the Photo Archives book, where I was thinking about how the Jedi just get magical powers, right, in those movies. There's the original storyboard sequence between Obi-Wan and Darth Maul had Obi-Wan going invisible during the fight. So like they would fight and then the Jedi could turn invisible for brief moments and then fight him invisibly. Like, it's the craziest thing ever. So I'm pulling storyboards and stuff from that right now. So we can kind of go through some random concept art and everything. But I do think though that like the Jedi constantly getting new powers, I don't know why they feel the need to do that, right? Like, I guess the idea is that it seems exciting, right? Every movie you need something new and exciting, but I just think like the Jedi alone are exciting enough. Matter of fact, Rogue One would have had the two dudes, Donnie Yen and the other guy, right? So you got like normal guys who just believe in the Force, who have no powers really to speak of other than just a limited connection to the Force. Far more interesting to me than Jedi magically disappearing.
What did you do?
Hearing that?
What did you do?
I whipped it all out.
Okay, cool. That's what I expect.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm here for. I need to switch over to Giorgio when you do that, right? I need to work on. Yeah, so when you go, I can like flip it. I'm Giorgio Lucas. I'm the electronic Lucas.
I'm Giorgio Lucioso.
I'm hoping that when this camera technology gets out of beta, they can flip on like the face AR thing, right? So I can just turn on a Lucas face and just be it's my show. Let's get experimental.
I want that floating Phantom Menace cam. So whenever I just go over here, look at the thing, I'm still looking at the camera no matter what I do.
Oh, the future Amazon cam.
I'm gonna build like a helmet with like a wire, and then the webcam hangs on it, so just dangling all the time.
That was actually my idea. We were first going to do that for all of the shots, and then they told me it wouldn't work digitally. It was a problem. Sony wouldn't foot the bill.
So Salah says, in the Star Wars Shittiest Dad Olympics, who wins the gold? Anakin, Luke, Han, Hux, Urso, someone else?
Hux isn't a dad in the movies, though. He's like, it's a book thing, right?
He's my daddy. No, I'm just kidding. He has a daddy, but the daddy's in the books. And
Urso was a good dad. I'm not
I was going to say that. I was like Galen Urso was put into a bad position because of his knowledge. Now I will say, he should have killed himself. Sucks to say it, but he was kind of he was a good dad, but ultimately a coward who even though he put the little weakness in there, and I guess you can justify it by saying someone else would have got to it, but maybe they wouldn't have.
You want my geeky Star Wars hot take on who the shittiest dad is? It's fucking Jango Fett. He let all of his kids, all those millions of fucking clones, just get murdered.
No child support. No child
support. Just they're all his kids. I don't care what they say. What one real kid? Get the fuck out of here.
Jango's kids.
Yeah, it's Jango's kids, and he just got all of his kids get waxed.
Disney ends up getting sued in that movie for stealing the tagline from Bebe's Kids of "We don't die, we multiply."
It's one of my I have friends who are animators who were from that era, and I tell them I love that movie, and they just they can't take it.
Yeah, no, that was a weird one. Okay, so I mean, obviously, I'm gonna have to go with Anakin, probably because he cut his son's hand off knowing it was his son, in an attempt to convert him to the dark side. That he was, honestly, it's kind of half-hearted about it too. He wasn't like, dude, we're going to play baseball together. Like, he didn't do anything like that. He was just like join me, it's going to be cool. That was pretty much all he did. He didn't even make a very good case for it. Like, when you watch it, you're like, oh, they could rule the galaxy together. Like, the cynic in me just goes together. I'm just gonna be doing what you want, fool. Like, I could see that coming a mile away. Anybody who's had my dad knows when he says together, it means just doing what he wants to do. So, but I guess Luke didn't have a dad, but he had an Owen. He had an Owen. I'm gonna probably say Uncle Owen was probably the shittiest dad, though, because he didn't seem like he really liked him very much. He just kind of seemed like work for me, slave. He was a little bit of a Watto.
Legitimately my childhood. I love my father, but yeah, honestly, I was like, did my dad love me, or just did he love having me around to do everything? It's a constant battle that me and my therapist are working out. I still don't have answers for it, because when I go back and that's the one part of the Star Wars I relate to. It's not not all the other shit. It's that being stuck there having to do all the fucking work, you know,
Yeah.
like, and it's never gonna end. Like, I'm just gonna have to live here. doing
Yeah,
it.
yeah. It is like when you have kids, like you do run into those you have there's those two elements of keep them busy so they don't get into trouble. So like that's why I let my kids like follow their interests for the most part. As long as they're following their interest in doing something, is people tell me your kids have too much screen time, and I'm like, they're following his interest though. It's not like he's just playing Fortnite all the time, but so you want that, but then you also want them to learn like responsibility and have a good work ethic. You do have a good work ethic, I will say that much, right? I mean, you're here every day. You're always sketching. You're doing what you love.
Yes, Jason, I managed to take this slavery called my childhood and I turned it into something positive, which is responsibility. But there's a just as well as another option where I could have turned that into meth use, like as a way to
That's
cope.
true.
Like,
Yeah,
my dad had a little slave, bro. Like, it's not even. I'm not even gonna I'm not complaining, but it is what it is. Like,
yeah, my next door neighbor as a kid, I won't say his name because that might not be right, but we were like best buds from like about 87 to 1990 when he moved away to Colorado. And I always, as a kid, even felt bad because he had this older sister who was maybe, I want to say 13 at the time. And that 13-year-old man, and they went as young as 5. I think there was 5 kids in the end. That mom just had that girl doing everything for like all of them. And it was a thing. But looking at them now, I will say she's the most successful one for what it's worth. I think all that energy, once she was able to spend it on herself, actually worked out for her. I'm not saying it was a good idea, though. I'm not.
I know my dad killed, like, he died at 59. Like, he just worked himself to death. So, like, I've learned the lessons of, like, I'm not doing anything.
Well, see,
like,
he needed your help, dude. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry.
Bro, I tried to help him, man. I was like,
I'm kidding.
I took my dad to go see, like, the best run we had was around the late 2000s when, theatrical events were like the norm for a while there between the Marvel movies and Batmans and Star Treks.
Right.
I would get him to go with me to these movie openings, and I took him to see Avatar. And we were at the IMAX in Irvine, that real IMAX screen that's like 3 stories tall. It's a real IMAX.
That's the only one I go to when I would go to an IMAX movie.
We're in the dead center, middle row, the whole thing. A little bit higher above because it's 3D and I knew, right? But we're right there, full screen. And the opening shot in space, my dad yells out, "I'm gonna throw up," because he just wasn't used to the 3D and the size, and the experience was too much for him. This is I don't know what to do. This is too much.
Wow.
He was overstimulated from the imagery. It's crazy.
Yeah. I a lot of people too would used to say like they would get headaches from 3D and stuff. I'm actually I love 3D. Like I am bummed about how shitty it was most of the time and how they kind of killed it. It sucks, and it sucks to, like, I own The Force Awakens in 3D on Vudu, and I'll watch it every now and then, and it kind of sucks.
Decent conversion. I don't think JJ
it's fun
shooting for it. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, no, but it's still fun.
The Rogue
and I wish
One 3D is probably their best work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but it sucks that we can't watch them all in 3D at home.
You can at Rob's house because I own all those 3D Blu-rays and I ripped them and I streamed them in my Oculus. So
nice.
Yeah.
I haven't done that yet. I haven't tried it in the Oculus.
It's brilliant, bro. I sit there with my mouth like open. Like I got Furiosa in 3D, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like I sit in the theater, and because it's in 3D, and you're in 3D, it's never out of sync.
Right.
So I just sit back with I have like a long straw as like a soda. Like it's just you just sit there stupefied and wonder. Like, it is the best 3D experience you can get because you never have to worry about things not being in sync.
Yeah, when it comes to that actual like Oculus like 3D experience, the Amazon Prime one for a 2D viewing in in the headset is a really good theater. I dig that one. Have you tried that one before?
Yeah, I've tried it. It's cool. It's cool. I like Skybox. I like watching my own movies, to be honest with you. So, but yeah, it's cool. I like the theater experience in general is pretty dope. That's why I'm like, I don't get anything out of cheering with people in theaters. Like I'm like very Japanese in that sense, where the Japanese sit there and they're quiet. They don't say shit during the movie. Like that's how I've always been. So I don't feel the need to go, yeah, America. Like, I don't do it, like so.
Right. Yeah. For me, I tend to be very interested in the audience. So when I go into a movie theater and there is no audience, it's actually kind of a relief because then I'm able just to focus on the film. Otherwise, I tend to notice how they're reacting. And for me, that doesn't necessarily make the movie better. It just means I'm noticing what's working for people as opposed to being immersed in the story. You
ever get that guy who like a third of the way through the movie? It's always a dude who has to like lean forward and go, all right. And you're just like, why are you in my fucking line of sight now? You have these giant recliners. Right, yeah. We all wish for them in the 90s because the fucking seats used to be a foot tall. It used to be like those bus seats they make now to keep the homeless from living on them.
They were like auditorium seats from a high school or something.
Yeah, and you got to lean forward like dick. Yeah, those ones. Ugh, I don't miss them.
Yeah, I'm kind of weird in the sense that like the whole recliner thing. Like I do like it. But I feel weird reclining in public. I don't know why. I
would never lean it back.
Yeah, I don't. No, I don't. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, it just feels weird to me. But
like that asshole in the airplane that has to lean back right on you.
Those people are the worst. I don't ever do that. I'm like, I'll just be uncomfortable rather than make somebody else uncomfortable. Richie Kosel, how's it going, Richie? What about Qui-Gon? He is what seemed to have figured out. He is what seemed to have figured it out compared to the other Jedi. Are we talking about as a dad? Because as a dad, he was he seemed to be a pretty good dad to Obi-Wan anyway. I mean, Obi-Wan was a little stuck up, a little bit of.
Do you think finding Anakin was a good idea or a bad idea? Like seriously, did all that shit still go down?
Yeah, I'm gonna guess from the George Lucas perspective, if they hadn't found Anakin, he would have been with his mom, and then he would have been of healthier mind by the time he was trained. So, and Luke Skywalker does essentially have that. Like he has Beru from when he's a baby until he's essentially a young man.
Question about that. So now they're like when Ahsoka tells Mando that Grogu's powers will fade, just let them fade away. Would Anakin's powers have just faded away? Like would he have just been like one day he's flying the pod racers, he goes, oh no, like he just loses it.
No, I think I think she's essentially saying don't hone them. I'm sure that just like Princess Leia or General Leia, like Leia kind of always had the aptitude, but they weren't really a thing. And then obviously she does develop them, and then they just become non-existent other than the telekinesis moments with her. I mean, if we're gonna look into something that's not real and try to make sense of it, but Anakin, I think the difference is that he's the chosen one. So either way, he's going to be pushed onto that stage by the powers that be in the universe eventually. Either way.
That is the what if story, that if they were to make an alternate universe Star Wars series, would be great. What if Qui-Gon or Anakin did not meet, right? And it's just, how does that galaxy series unfold? If they were to try to reboot, think about this. This is a clever way to reboot the prequels without rebooting it. Is you say, okay, Qui-Gon didn't get Anakin. He went back to being a slave. But during the Civil War, Anakin still is the chosen one, and then he rises up. Maybe he still meets General Kenobi. Maybe that story still happens in a different way. You know what I mean? And that's a reboot without rebooting.
I think if we want to Back to the Future it a bit, and like, go back in the DeLorean and change time in that way. I think if you have Qui-Gon live, then Obi-Wan goes on to be a great Jedi. Probably takes Ahsoka Tano as his Padawan, which is probably better for both of them. And then Qui-Gon is training Anakin when Palpatine tries to start to plant those seeds and those manipulations. That's when Qui-Gon steps in and crushes it, stops it before it starts, or deals with it. And so I think that's kind of, I think the killing of Qui-Gon is what allows us to get a corruptible Anakin. Besides the fact that he was taken from his mother when he already had the attachment.
It'd be an interesting set of animated films, I think, right? Or like an animated series, like Star Wars Dimensions or whatever you want to call it, like Star Wars Alternates, or where you could take that story to an interesting way of, again, rebooting without rebooting.
Yeah, they should just make they could just do a Star Wars Legends series. They could do Heir to the Empire, an animated Heir to the Empire, and for instance, and they could do, and then they could go on
repairing his ship for 30 minutes. Like,
well, I mean, you have obviously through the magic of editing. We just,
through the magic of it, he puts on the James Gunn music. When he's out there, do 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 do.
Montage.
I'm blue, da do dee da do da do dee. Gets out the Hydra spanner. You know.
I did like that scene in Heir to the Empire though, where he like takes the mechanics out of his hand to hotwire the door.
I love Heir to the Empire. I agree with you in that it's still a book. It's not.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bookish stuff that only really work in books. I mean, like even the whole sequence when Talon Card first has the Imperials and then Luke's in that room escaping and he uses his hand to get out. That's a good TV show thing. That's not the best movie.
Yeah.
It's kind of like they go in the forest and it doesn't really get super climactic,
But that's a way of having a Legend series would be a way of respecting the past, that audience. I don't even consider myself a part of the Legends audience, but I would enjoy it. So I know that with that in mind, it would probably make a lot of people happy and allow people to have their cake and eat it too, Any predictions for the Bad Batch finale? Man, there's so many ways like it can go. Because like we had the Pikes show up, right? And that's what makes me think we're going to eventually get to Maul. But I'm not expecting Maul to show up
this season.
I'm not expecting it, but you could have that. Boba Fett could still come. Now, if you want my opinion is those kinds of end of the season Darth Vader kind of cameo things, I don't think it would be the best thing for the story necessarily. I think the best thing for the story is to deal with the characters at hand and not ones that we love from other things. So there's like a lot of interesting things that could go down though, in
Rex.
I think Rex is probably going to end up showing up again for sure. And
Space Whales.
Well, we have to have Wolf has to show up at some point. When you in Star Wars Rebels, when you meet up with Rex and Gregor, they're with Wolf. So it's like those three dudes all live together in that walking ATTE and AT-Te. AT-Te.
In Canada, it's Ate.
Ate? Yeah.
Cheap shot. It's a cheap shot.
Hey, you have a nephew from there. You're allowed.
Low hanging fruit, everyone can eat. Yeah.
Degrassi, right? Why?
Because Kevin Smith mentioned it a few million times. Have you ever watched Degrassi High?
Oh, I as a kid was the biggest Degrassi. We had to. It was already outdated when I was a kid, and we would have like, it's like it's sexual reproduction week or something in health or something like that. They wouldn't want to deal with it. They would put on the Degrassi episodes where it's like, somebody getting their period or something like that, or getting pregnant. And it was just like, it was hilarious. Like it was so over the top.
The only show that I knew was made in Canada when I was a kid was Kids Incorporated, and you can't do that on television. So I just figured Canada was where those got made. And I think the was it the Einstein kids, the Edison twins. There you
Okay.
go, the Edison twins. 'Cause
Edison twins?
fucking Disney Channel. You
Okay,
never saw the
yeah.
Edison twins?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, there's a theme song. Look at that
When-
stuck in your head for an hour.
When I was 4, I was watching Kids Incorporated, and I fell in love with one of the girls, and I told my mom I wanted to get a guitar, and I needed to start practicing because I wanted to be on Kids Incorporated. I was pretty serious about it. Yeah, weird kid, right?
Not
Anyways.
a bad dream. Not a bad dream. All things considered, you know.
You know,
'Cause
but
he had a better shot than being a sports hero. You know, I
Right,
wanted
yeah.
to be a pro wrestling manager. I don't want to actually wrestle. I just wanted to be the guy that came out there and talked all this shit and ran around the ring and act like an idiot.
Yeah.
that was my dream.
now let me ask you this, Rob, or even back to Bookshot. Do you want there to be a seasoned cliffhanger for the Bad Batch? Because that's kind of where I'm a bit like iffy on it, in the sense that we don't know like what's going to happen to like Hunter, and that we assume that the big thing is that they're going to save Hunter. Is it?
That ain't the cliffhanger I would take. Like they either save him or don't. And then now Omega has to like not have her father, right? And then
Yeah.
the Boba could become that surrogate family thing, right? Like someone that's the more interesting thing to
Right.
me if they go that route. If they save them, they all get along, and then it's like, oh, we're back to the sitcom thing. So I feel like somebody needs to take a loss here to learn something.
Well, let's put it back onto to Sando's Paper Moon thesis. What if they don't do
It's
that in
all
Mando
Paper
in the end? No, but what if they don't do that in Mando in the end? What if she ends up going with Boba, her family? Her family essentially shows up, and they're like, "Yeah, I guess you should go." And then she goes with him, and then she decides this dude is a maniac, and then she goes back to Hunter.
I would prefer that over the Minch. The Minch, the little Minch.
The Grogu.
I love that term, man. That is my word for 2021. Every time you see the magic word, everyone say, "Ah!" It's my magic word, man. So like with Grogu coming back is just not something I want. If he comes back, I want him to save Mando. Like
Yeah.
he has to, like he saves his father, right? The student saves the vice versa. I don't want him to come back so they have them more space adventures, you know? Like that's not.
I think you're bringing up something actually that's probably the most likely scenario for that. A Luke Skywalker moment where he sees his friends in the clouds. That could be what pulls him away from Luke, at least for a time. When Mando does get in trouble, he's gonna see it. He's gonna feel that anxiety.
Sneaks onto ships, hides in luggage. Right?
He's so
He's
badass.
pretending to be backpacks. Right?
we end up with the end of season 2 of Mando, but instead of Luke Skywalker, it's it's just a little tiny Jedi starfighter comes in, and then you see him just going through. It's like, well, they
Oh
did
my
it again.
God. These are Bomb Bad Racing, right? Remember like the proportions in Bomb Bad Racing, how it was these
Yeah.
little super deformed characters and tiny ships, but it looks like that.
I had like a wild wouldn't it be nuts theory for season 2 at one point where I was like, Moff Gideon has a Darksaber and he could sword fight, and little Grogu, he could probably fight that guy. You know what I mean? No, and I kept wondering, I'm like, is this gonna happen?
I would be like, if I were in Star Wars, which by the way, I would hate to be in that universe. I think it's a hellhole. It's one step above being in a Mad Max situation. Star Wars,
Yeah.
It's so dangerous.
Right.
But if I were on the team, I would be very Taika. Like in that moment, I would just pick up the Minch and throw him at a guy and run. He's got claws, man. The Minches have claws, and they eventually get fangs. Maybe they come out. You know, like the ears wrap around your face and latch. You know, like, there's something very. Everything in Star Wars is lethal. That's the thing you got to remember. No matter how cuddly it is, everything will eat or kill you.
Yeah, it's true.
You know?
I mean,
Even the Minch.
Even the Ewoks. At the end, we saw them. They were doing things that appeared to be cannibalistic. So
Always a bigger fish.
my friend Steven says, yo. He says, my prediction.
He's pacing.
He has a lot of anticipation in his comments today. It's like Frickenfurter. Bad Batch will get wiped out.
Remember MTV pop-ups? Remember that thing where like you'd watch and it was like, boop, look, you can type something in and it pops up. But it's like I like that it's timed at. That's clever.
What we should do is we should do like pop-up video where we just put on the movie and then people are just able to type whatever they want.
Gain 1 million followers. You know?
Whoa, that's
erectile dysfunction.
Invisibility is a good trick.
I was telling him about in the storyboards, the original storyboarded sequence for Obi-Wan versus Darth Maul in the Phantom Menace. Obi-Wan could go invisible for short periods. Like he had this invisibility, and they drew it. I'll scan it in, but they drew it in a way where like he's like. I thought he was being zapped because it looks like these like starbursts coming off around him.
Yeah.
But I was like, would it be like, because of the way they drew it, I'm like, did they think it would be like the Predator, like where it bent light or something? Like, because it couldn't just be like invisible with the saber. Just like,
yeah.
Like, how does that play out? Maybe they couldn't figure out a way to do it. And that didn't look ridiculously stupid. But it was a thing.
Yeah. That's the thing about force powers. Like I want more, but then I always have to question is do I Omega will pick up the mantle, laugh out loud. That's my hope. I think ultimately that you're probably correct in the long run, in the sense that if you want to do stuff like the clones have a weird backstory now where they double in age until age 60. That's their way of like dealing with everything, like the way that they're coded,
like senators.
Yeah, right.
Then they live forever.
Then they live for way too long and won't leave. And so and that's a way of I think being able to use Tamara Morrison in the future for things if they should want to, and also not have it where over the course from Empire to Return of the Jedi, like Rex is in a home by the end of it.
I'm not gonna weight shame the man. I actually like. That he could be older with a little bit of girth. He just needs to watch it. Yeah. There is a limit. You know what I mean?
I'm with you. I actually I'm a fat guy, so I could say it. I don't think Boba Fett looks that good fat. I think he looks a little bit silly at times in the stuff that we've seen him in. When my son saw it for the first time, who has no filter because he's 7, he said Boba Fett. And it was like, it's kind of funny. It was kind of funny though. I did laugh. I said, hey. I put
my half brother, my little half brother. I took him to Comic-Con when he was 8 in 97.
Yeah.
And there was a guy dressed up like a Transformer who was overweight, fine. But it was like tinfoil. Clearly the guy was not, he's a special dude.
Okay.
But my little brother had no mouth. And he goes, when did Transformers get fat? And I'm like, no, you can't do that, man. Like I had to talk to him. Like, you can't point at people and yell at their weight, kid. Like that's not like
and there's like such a difference between somebody celebrating their fandom and being on screen. And I honestly don't think that he is fat. Like I'm not saying that, but he doesn't. He looks like the costume design. I don't feel like ultimately truly worked.
Well, like in Suicide Squad we watched this weekend, there's a scene where John Cena is like nothing but his tighty whities, and even though he's muscular, he's got weight to him. And that's dude. Everyone, I'm fine with all the bulkier.
Yeah,
it's just that with the way the camera works, there is a limit. Like. There's a certain limit where you're like, all right, it's not gonna help. People are gonna complain, it's gonna be a point where it looks a little.
And I don't know if anybody even was. I didn't really notice it. I think I was maybe just people were thinking it, not saying it.
Oh,
but
there was chatter.
There was chatter. Yeah. No, it definitely it definitely like I said, I thought like some of the shots. Which I hate to second guess Robert Rodriguez, but I started to feel like maybe some of the shots weren't the best way to shoot some of that stuff, or maybe they should have had a double for those shots, at times, because the thing about it is it's Boba Fett after Return of the Jedi, so you do have that out, but it doesn't look like it's Boba Fett to me. It looks like it's just a Mandalorian type dude at that point, and with the costume change and that kind of stuff. So I'm curious to see how it's going to look in the new show, and if that costume carries over, and if it looks better in general.
And I do like the body type difference between him and Mando, so it's just not like a copy of a copy. Like you can pick them out, armor aside. My only real gripe about that second season is the paint job he gave his armor is so dull. Like there's no. I like it when it was scratches and scruffed up armor. When Boba's armor is all clean and new for some reason, I was like, I think the scratched up, messed up armor looked way better.
I think they agree with you. I think that the idea is it went through hell. He paints it, and I think we're going to see it turn into what we're used to. That's my guess. I think that was done.
I didn't like the repaint. I was
I think they were basically showing us this is what it looks like when it's fresh, and then I think it will slowly, or maybe not even slowly, but over the course of the episodes, will probably turn into what we know, and
it kind of reminds me of in the prequels when you'd see like Padme's luggage, and it had all the like the material design, physical props in the prequels have a weird matte plasticky finish to them. Like if you look at the Jedi Temple, like especially in the Phantom Menace, like the pillars, they look like Disney plasticky. I don't know how to describe it. Like they don't look like metal finished pillars. I know there's something very molded about it. Like in a way, I don't know. The materials are weird.
Yeah,
but they did make the movie for $35 million, so maybe
they did. Yeah, I mean, those are either I don't know if those are completely computer generated or if they're just models that are composited, and they just composited the same one over and over again. I haven't looked at it in a while.
No, I'm talking about like even like her luggage.
Oh, that stuff. Okay.
Yeah. Like just the materials they use for the physical objects.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure they were just buying stuff, like real stuff, and repurposing, like adding on to
shit. In the 90s was cheap, yo.
Yeah, like I said, I went to IKEA and bought the same silverware that the clones use, and that's what I used for a while. So Sala says, I vote for Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow as Mara Jade. She's perfect, as long as no one hyper focuses on her looks. Yeah, well, good luck with that. Yeah, I see, like if they were to go with somebody famous and like well known, and they were to take it that route, then that would work. At the same time,
Sebastian Stan and Scarlett Johansson, you're gonna hear it.
Yeah,
you're gonna hear a lot of complaints about that.
But I do I appreciate.
What's her face? Hold on. What's her face from Guardians? That who's blue, but she was in Doctor Who.
Yeah. Her hair was used in episode 7 in some kind of wig costume, and for some reason, and people thought she was Mara Jade.
Well, that's what I'm saying. She looks more like Mara Jade, like in her natural sense. She's got the great feisty anger thing to her. That she's Scottish, right? So, she can fucking lay it in.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, Mara Jade could have a Scottish accent. I'm just saying.
Yeah, they could give her whatever they want. I mean, she's like, it's kind of a blank slate redo on her, and who knows, if you were reading the books with a Scottish accent, maybe she always had one for you.
In the 90s, my thought for her was, Starship Troopers, the redhead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was who I always saw.
Yeah. Remember that Star Wars Insider cover where they had like a model dressed up as her, composited on the Return of the Jedi on the Jabba's Palace stuff? Yeah, remember that though? That was weird.
Remember that one time when they did that stupid shit and they put it all over the place, and then Lucas was like, "See, I told you it wouldn't work." It couldn't work.
Yeah, but I will say, like for instance, Felicity Jones is somebody who you see all over, but not really in action movies necessarily. I don't think. I know her from things that are very much the opposite of Star Wars. I kind of like somebody that does that kind of stuff coming in and taking like a Felicity Jones type. Who had and even the look of Mara. I mean, when you get down to it, based off of the people that we've even named that are famous in this talk, it's like if they look good with dark red hair, it's gonna work.
Anyone pretty much looks good with dark red hair, dude. So like it's a look that looks. I mean,
yeah.
when you pair up someone with Sebastian Stan, like you just have to find out, like it really comes down to like the chemistry they have on set, and you can't wizard fan cast for that. You know,
Right.
like you don't know, like they could be the perfect looking person in the world, but then they get on set and they're like they don't have any magic, which is why I'm so confounded by the Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman deal, because they clearly had no chemistry. Like it's really evident there's no magic there between the two, you know? And I'm just, you know, she put the effort in the third one to pretend better, you know,
Yeah.
like she's pretending, but it, you know, I just don't see it, you know? So I don't know.
Yeah. I wondered about that because either they just didn't care, cast who they just liked in the roles and then said it was chemistry, or they really truly had chemistry in real life, but real life chemistry does not translate to acting.
It's possible.
I would say I would think, and I'm not an actor, but I have to say, if I had to do a play tonight where I had to kiss somebody who I wasn't attracted to, I think I would do a better job than if it was somebody I was actually attracted to.
When I say chemistry, I don't mean that they want to hump one another. To use an 80s term,
no,
right? I mean, when you turn on the camera,
no, I know.
When the camera's rolling, there's chemistry between the two on camera. They could fucking hate one another,
right,
to high heaven. I don't care. When
Sam and Diane.
Rolling, yeah, when the camera's rolling, which is why Sam and Diane worked,
yeah,
and Sam and Kirstie Alley didn't work at all, because there's zero chemistry on camera between those two.
No, like, and I'm talking about the Lucasfilm PR of the time. Was they were selling the idea that they were into each other, and therefore that's why it was going to work. And I think that may have been ultimately why it didn't. But I'll
tell me she wasn't into Jake Lloyd.
Well, you know what though? but I mean, but we could also turn it around and say that George Lucas probably is not the kind of guy who would you would want writing your love letters for you. And so
Coppola is like, trust me, you don't.
You don't.
You know, I write them on yellow legal pads, and then I hand them over to my husband-wife team from American Graffiti. They give it a pass, and then I kick it to Coppola. And Francis, you know, I mean, it's his why he's been married for 40 years, even though he runs around like a.
That was why he hired the Hayeks, I think is their name, to do the to write it, because they had that heart scene. He's like, you are ripping my heart out.
Shockingly, Leia Brackett was no good at this. Was horrible at it.
Yeah. No, but
I minch you. What is minch?
I just see Lucas as being the deterrent towards any if they ever had a fighting chance to not in that stuff. And I would say I don't buy it as being realistic. But I do.
He seemed to be stuck on the loss. Like, it's about loss, right? To him.
Yeah.
And I think if I was like, hey, look, George, we're buds. It's better to have loved and lost than to never have loved at all, right? And one needs to feel love. One does not feel love in these films. I feel your love for the material. No doubt George's love is there. I'm saying the characters' love for one another is not felt.
Yeah. It's like it's directed in such a way that when you know what the intent is, which the intent is that she's feeling the same thing that he is, she's a bit more mature and responsible about it. And so the whole time it plays like as if he's leaning into it ultra hard and she doesn't want it at all. And then all of a sudden she's just like, no, I love you too, man. Like, I'm
you
seriously
killed kids.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. You know,
she was like, they were just sand people. Who cares?
No.
Like, whoa, Padme, you suck. And
you'd think after like learning that everyone's important in the first movie with the Gungans, right? That no one is beneath us. That it feels like him killing the sand people, she would have let go before that moment. Right. Like before then, well, you know, we're in Arizona. I can afford $5,000 for this Star Wars trip. You know, What do I care? Let them eat whatever nayberries.
Yeah. They're like, even Star Wars has its generations, right? I guess Doesn't it feel wrong when you say sand people too? If it feels like if you don't
Yes.
say Tusken Raider, it sounds like you're
was
like,
one of the complaints my uncles used to make, because my uncles were fairly liberal until, I don't know, 9/11.
yeah.
And then, but they used to go and they call them sand people. Like, I was like, as a kid, I guess, yeah, it does sound weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Luke Skywalker is going to get canceled now. Rick Jones says, Bad Batch prediction, Hunter dies. Everybody is sad. The Sad Batch. Yeah. I do kind of feel like the show would benefit from someone dying, or there actually being like a real loss. And I kept putting it on it being Crosshair, but now that they had Crosshair just kind of being an asshole the whole time, it's turns like when he dies, it's sort of like a so what, you know?
If it were me, I'd kill Hunter and make Crosshair have to join the team.
Yeah.
Like, they're killing all the clones off and he has no choice, and they're forced to reconcile. Like, you gotta, you want conflict. You want some kind of conflict. And right now, that what we complain about consistently is a lack of conflict within the group. There's always this like, oh, but you got to do something. Oh, you're right. I got to do the right thing. Well, we did the right thing and the main dude died. Like, everyone we love died and now we all don't really get along, and who's really leading this group anyway? And then they're stuck with a dude who could have some good in him, but I just don't want to see the good in him come out, like the Crosshair good in him come out, because he's talked to in the way that Luke would talk to Vader. I want it to happen through actual actions and like him learning, like, oh, I really did have feelings for this dude. Maybe he saved himself to protect me, or I don't know, like something a little less hokey than that, bro. But
the way I would do it if I was writing the final episode is like this. They enter into the conflict and Wrecker dies because he's just a nice, pure spirit, if you will. He dies, and in that death and what kills him brings Crosshair back to their side, who then saves them.
It's not consequential enough, though. Like, I think with Wrecker should change. Right now, he's like the fun one, right? I think we should do that. I think we should do this. If his leader's gone, maybe he stops being fun.
Maybe,
yeah. Like, it would be a change of character. Like,
but that would give all of them something to want to avenge, a purpose, something to fight for, and it would be a loss of something that is like him dying would be the loss of that group's purity, so to speak. He does
maybe
beyond
Omega's
the kid,
kind of pure though too.
But that's and that's why he's the one I kill, and that's why it turns into something where because if you're able to pull Crosshair back in somehow, and
they need a leader, and you can't have Hunter and Crosshair leading co-lead. Crosshair is an alpha. So you have to remove the alpha to bring a new alpha in. Wrecker's not an alpha. He's not. He's a follower. He's not a leader. And so to kill, it's like killing Groot. That doesn't really set Guardian. You want to do something different. You want to set the film. These Guardians don't know what to do. You get rid of Star-Lord. Then you find out that even though this kid was Star Wars, the little shit talker that everyone hated, he actually led the group. And now they can't make decisions. Now they don't have someone to see. Here's the thing. And we all know this. Employees rally around hating their manager in some way. Like, even if they like him, they all go, when he's gone, hey, man, we can all like agree, right? Like that guy, but when that guy ain't there, you all kind of go to shit. Yeah. And Omega might, she's not a leader. She has that Pollyannish, like, got to do the right thing attitude. Well, if doing the right thing got your friend killed, maybe that sets her up for like a darker arc in the second too, that she then learns from too, So I agree that I think your take is what they're more likely to do. I'm telling you the Rian Johnson way is to kill Hunter. That's what I would do.
Yeah. I feel like,
kill Rambo. Kill him.
Yeah. That's where I go. Like, I feel like even Echo will likely die at some point too, because as somebody suggested, Echo Base may be an homage to him who's not with them anymore.
That'd be clever.
And
I don't like filling in all those little gaps, but that's a clever gap. I'll give him credit on that one.
then we see that Gregor, Wolf, and Rex end up together. So we have to assume that things go in a way where Gregor leaves or goes with those guys, and those guys survive. So I feel like everyone else is kind of up on the chopping block to some extent. And I don't think it will be Omega. I think Omega will be the character who probably or could be spun off into live action someday if they keep playing, if they play the show right.
I love your idea that she has that white armor.
Oh, that wasn't my idea. That was from Star Wars Santa, who was predicting it
Star
based
Wars
off
Santa's idea.
Yeah, but what my contribution to the thing is, I think her Kaminoan head jewel should be the center design of where the armor pieces fit in.
Yeah,
that little diamond. I think that would be cool if they go that way. But so Daniel says the story of Luke and Leia being the kids of Vader causing contention in the galaxy was from Michael Arndt. Oh, so he was the one who suggested that part. That's cool.
Told you I want that Arndt script. I want it more than anything else. Yeah. I know it never would have been. I get it, but I want it. I just want to know.
Oh no, I want to see all of it. I think that they're kind of in a weirder place with that stuff, in the sense that all of that stuff could still be mined. Like whatever he threw out there could end up being the basis of something in the future.
That would make the most logical sense, other than there's just the fear. I don't like that there's a fear that they can't show their process, because Lucasfilm has always been about showing their process. That Disney thing, man, where they clamp down how shit gets done, I don't like. That's my biggest complaint about the Disney acquisition of Lucasfilm, is they've put this clamp on the making of everything, and the making of everything is how we ended up with the legion of people wanting to make special effects. It's not good.
Yeah, well, I kind of feel like in the prequels, where things were more transparent, they sold and kept selling the wrong ideas in the PR stuff. So it wouldn't surprise me if the people who are still there from that time walked away going, when we show our cards, they use a higher card against us constantly, just to one up us, to second guess us. And they were really like, when people were like, well, we don't know if they were trying to sell CGI to us with their words rather than with their eyes. And in doing that, they made a discourse that made it very easy to attack. I mean, like the red letter media stuff, like pretty much leans into it. And in a weird way, I think they kind of stepped in it with that stuff. You know what I mean? They kind of set themselves up for it. And I like it. I mean, I'm all for it. I'm all for like the beginning documentary. I like it, but when you look at like what they decided to show in that, you could imagine what they could have shown.
It's only because the film was seen as a loss. If the film had resonated with fans as a win, you take that exact same material and everyone praises it. So it's not, again, the takeaway for me isn't to go, oh, we showed our cards, that was the problem. No, the problem was the fucking movie wasn't a winner. You know, over time we're like, oh, we like it anyway, it's not so bad. But it wasn't, you got to have a winner at the time. You can't be like, hey, Citizen Kane really resonated with audiences 40 years later. Yeah, great. But what about when it fucking comes out? The people who made it needed to do well. If Citizen Kane had done well when it came out and Hearst stayed out of it, Orson Welles would have had a way different career. You know, like a way different career than that. So that's my problem. Like, you take what movie, like, do people really look at, I don't know, like Lord of the Rings was seen as a win. So when you see those making of documentaries, which are highly pretentious when you watch them, right? All the extended editions, oh, this is so important in Tolkien and the words of Tolkien. If those movies suck, you'd be like, these motherfuckers talking out their ass. This is a bunch of hoity-toity bullshit. But because the movie's a win, you all buy into it. But
let's imagine things had been different behind the scenes on The Force Awakens. It comes out, it's well received, pretty much unanimously overall, was very much loved. And then you get a few movies in, and then people don't necessarily connect with the ending. Then they start to reevaluate that film. Then you kind of run into it again, like where they will eventually
not the same. It doesn't.
You can't predict it,
but it doesn't become the lexicon of the way you remember it. Is CGI was the problem with the prequels. Even though I can show you model after model after model after model. The problem with the prequels is the movies didn't resonate. You know, that's the problem with the prequels. Like the movies just
Yeah,
didn't resonate with the
and
mass public.
And I'm talking about their perspective on
Yeah, it's
it.
wrong, but I get that they have that
and
perspective.
I wonder how real they are internally about their own movies. I know people who worked for them who will agree and disagree with what they've done, but I'm wondering how open that kind of stuff is when they're you know, evaluating stuff. Sala says, have you seen the Lego cartoon video where Grandpa Vader is picking up Ben Solo and Han Solo tells him to try not to turn into a Dark Lord? Yeah. My kids love those things. I'm a little
Did
bit
you
like
see that one I sent you that's coming out for Halloween? There's a Star Wars Halloween one. It's the only form of spoof that I really accept with Star Wars. Rather than the detours, just make them Legos, and then I'll always accept it. Like
I go I'm a little like what was that last one that they did? I think it won like an award too. That the Simpsons one. Surprisingly, did not really like anything. Didn't really care for it too much until the end credits when you see what's his name as Snoke. I was like, why wasn't this in? This should have been in the actual.
The Treehouse of Terror.
No, the Simpsons Force Awakens spoof that they put on Disney Plus.
Oh, yeah, I don't care for that.
Yeah, that's the. Yeah, I'm always kind of mixed on the spoof stuff. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know.
The Legos, I like the Legos. Like, and I gotta be honest, like Lego Batman.
Oh, it's great.
Might be I don't think I've ever laughed that much in a theater. I mean, I'm laughing. I told my buddy who's a super skeptic. He's a filmmaker. He's super skeptic. I go, look, if you're not laughing within the first 3 seconds and the screen is black, if you're not laughing, you don't have a heart. Like, you want to check to see if you have a soul, just go watch that opening thing where it's just there's nothing on screen and it's just Lego Batman talking. Is some of the funniest. I think it's 10 times more funnier than the Lego movie. I think the Lego movie has a better heart, like, you know, that pathos, you know, story. But the Lego Batman movie, pound for pound, joke for joke, funniest I said this is the funniest film I've seen since Anchorman. Like, this is that freaking good.
You know, I saw Anchorman. I was up at Lake Big Bear, and we were like, let's go to a movie. Anchorman is out. We went to see it, and I loved it. And I was in tears when the bear comes out at the end. I was just like, this is the best. And as we were walking out, no joke, I'm going to say a line of maybe 10 people were there asking for their money back. They just hated it at the screening I went to. Yeah. Or maybe I ruined it for them. Maybe me laughing at the bear too hard. Steven loves 3D. JJ is not a fan of 3D. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, he's not. And you could the conversion on Rise of Skywalker is horrible. That's as bad as if not somewhat worse, in my opinion, than the Phantom Menace 3D.
Mr. Lopez says, I still have a Sony 3D TV and a lot of 3D movies. Yeah, me too. I got a really good. It's emulated, but I think it's like 120 hertz TV natively and it does 3D and it does a really good job. It's like a Samsung, but I
got the same one, plasma.
But the problem with that is the software went to shit. They just stopped like writing new software for it, and so I had to turn all that stuff off. So I don't think I'll ever buy a Samsung again based off of that. And they also added ads to their software. Fuck those guys.
I don't have any of that. I just have a plasma from 2012 that works great.
Yeah, mine's not plasma. Stephen Myers says 3D versions are available overseas.
That's how I get mine. I have to, and they're not all region free. So what I've done is you can get a region free 3D Blu-ray player for like $200 because the Terminator 2 one wasn't region free, and I wanted that, and so. I get them between German, Italian, and Amazon UK's, like the different ones, and then import them in that way. Yeah.
Fraggle Rock was another big Canadian export, says Steven. So,
but I wasn't aware of it. Like when you watch Kids Incorporated, they say Canada in there, and you can't do it on television. Like they talk about Canada, they make Canada a big deal. So like, I didn't know Fraggle Rock was made in Canada.
So Sal says, do you remember what would make a great you know what would make a great either CW or Disney remake? Jericho. Do you remember that show? Was that the one with the dude from the Cosby Show? Or am I miss? Is that the one with Theo and like the end of the world and shit? Or am I thinking of the wrong show?
I don't remember that. Sorry, Salah. I don't know that show, man.
Yeah, me either. Well, we have a lot. Okay, we're gonna hit. We hit the 2 hour mark, so I'm gonna try to get to the chat real quick. I want to see Toretto roll up. Says Stephen. Buckshot says, I'm betting the cliffhanger will bring in Maul, and he will be on the hunt for the gang.
They need an antagonist.
I guess the question is though, is would Maul have a problem with them? They kind of settled up with what do you call it? Like I could see the
unless
Maul
she's force sensitive and he wants a little acolyte.
Yeah, that's true. But they haven't really pushed that. I don't feel like that's been foreshadowed enough, but we'll see. Sala says technically Jango is Omega's dad too. Yeah. She's Boba Fett's sister. That's what it's going to come down to. Steven says I want to see Boba turn out Omega into a severe life of crime. Like wanted to turn out Omega
life of crime. Like a severe.
he's like here. I want you to start selling this smack.
Like Suicide Squad, she just starts stabbing people while they're sleeping. Like
Super John Goldsmith. If Kenobi is rapping, is Andor going to shoot for a year? Dude, I'm actually not sure if Andor is still actually shooting. That one's been super quiet. I could see it being done. I will check in on that one because that's a good point. I haven't really reached out about anything about that show recently, and I think that one that one went longer than we expected.
Tony Gilroy's I'll kill you all.
Yeah, I have a feeling that there was like COVID delays that made that one go longer.
He said something about how like he couldn't even go over there. He had to like do it remotely, like directing stuff and overseeing it. Well,
he was supposed to direct it, and then he had to step down as the director because he couldn't get out of New York at the time,
right?
With the quarantines and stuff like that you'd have to go through.
Okay.
So Francisco says, "Give me Jessica Chastain, what's that?
Mara Jade."
Mara. Got it. Yeah, I've heard her name come up before for that actually. Do I know who she is? That's the question. I don't know.
I don't know. Do you?
I don't. I mean, who is she? Do you know who she is?
Yeah, I know the name. I get her confused with Emily Blunt all the time.
Okay.
Like when she appears, like Jessica Chastain was Molly's Game, I think. Right. So if you ever see Molly's Game,
that's the girl that Mike Pappas took to Disneyland earlier.
Yeah, that's the one he took Jessica Chastain. Yeah, that's a good movie, by the way. It's a very smaller '90s kind of film.
Okay.
By the way, Sorkin wrote and directed it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there was a story that I meant to put on the show. I forgot about Indira Varma saying that the production was like an indie film for Kenobi, and people were taking it that Kenobi's like an indie film. No, she's literally
Indiana or independent film.
No, yeah.
Okay, like which like a what? Like he gets a hat. he's got the like it's a new weapon. It's the saber whip, right?
Yeah. Slavers have those. Slavers
but
have
it just
those
cuts through shit and you fall into caverns repeatedly because you just can't latch on to nothing. Yeah.
So hey Francisco, I think they teased it with Rebels one time.
You talk about time travel. We already talked about they did time travel well in The Force Awakens. It's those force backs. Only do it that way where you can go through the past and the future visually. Just don't physically go to the past or the future and change shit.
Santa says can't kill Mr. T from A-Team. Crosshair is a goner. Yeah,
killing Mr. T is the best thing to do.
But well, the no, I love Mr. T. I don't want the A-Team without Mr. T.
Well, you gotta kill Hannibal though, right? Because then Face is left with the group.
I'm gonna be honest here that while Wrecker has a lot of great moments, he has a lot of bad moments too. And so far, he is no Mr. T, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, it could have happened, but I don't think it happened. And I think that they played more of like Mr. T was always a pit bull who would show his puppy side.
This is
And-
the limits of one guy doing 100 voices, by the way. You really need to bring in other actors who have similar-ish voices, or they can modulate them a little bit, because you need someone to bring a different person, a legitimately different personality for that to happen. You can't have one guy couldn't voice Mr. T now, and then I'm doing Hannibal.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't, the person behind the voice
right.
doesn't change, you know?
Yeah. I chalk it up to the writing though. I mean, ultimately, in terms of like what they gave him to like do, and like the gags that like sometimes he has really good ones, and sometimes they just are just like, oh no, he wants popcorn, and just like what is this? So you know what I mean? That's
you got
kinda,
me there.
That's kind of
Not
where
gonna
I fall.
defend that.
But, yeah. So 0 Dark 30.
0 Dark 30. Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, but this week we're gonna have that Mando, that Bad Batch episode, and we'll have it figured out, and hopefully there's some interesting stuff to talk about this week. But I want to thank everybody for supporting the show by becoming a channel member on the youtube.com or a Patreon supporter, where you can get all of the shows in audio form. If you prefer it as a podcast, you get a unique RSS link that you put into your podcatcher and your iPhone or whatever, and it adds it, and then you are now subscribed essentially to a podcast. So if that works for you, there's always that. And as our friend Solid did today, he just did the old super chat thingy, and that's appreciated too. So thanks to everybody for hanging out with us.
Getting 5 Diet Dr. Peppers.
That is 5 Diet Dr. Peppers, you guys. I am on fire.
All right.
Yeah. And yeah, so we'll see you guys tomorrow. And but today I am going to end with my favorite Making Star Wars moment.
You want to keep these secrets not to annoy you or